Hello and welcome to another episode of Weekly Tangents, the show where two high school friends talk about high for school time.
I thought, oh my god, I hate you. I thought you were going to say two high schoolers, and I was really confused where you were going with it. But then you finished with a completely different thing, and I was still confused where you went with it.
Yeah, well, I just figured why not adapt a great line into something that makes no sense at all?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, it's been a little bit since we talked, but we fill each other in a little bit, but I'm gonna fill you in some more.
Oh, fill me in, daddy.
So I'm gonna start by asking a question.
Is it why I said daddy in that situation?
Yeah, yeah, that's the question.
Oh, I mean, who wouldn't? That's the better question.
All right. Well, here's my question. Have you ever told someone about a hobby you have only for them to want to see you do it? And then you either fail spectacularly or rise to the occasion?
Not specifically for a hobby, but other situations, yes.
All right, so you kind of know the pain I'm going to go through later today.
Oh,
Because I told one of my friends that I was going to like skate with her and, kind of teach her a little bit because she wanted to like learn. Because I used to skate back in high school, but that was like literally 6 years ago. And I told her, like, I don't really remember how to skate. I'm probably going to be really bad. And she's like, oh, it's okay. Like, I'm going to be just learning. But last night we were texting and she's like, yeah, I've been practicing and I'm trying to do some tricks. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm saying I might not even be able to skate. So I am not ready for the awkward embarrassment that's going to happen when I have to learn how to just rebalance on a board when she's trying to do actual tricks. So
either way, you'll probably be better than me, because I remember that was something that I felt bad about going to Korea, where, like, at least where we grew up in the States, there weren't many skating places to go to, especially the place that you're going to wasn't even around until, like, we were almost done with high school.
yeah.
Whereas in Korea, it's so dense with so many buildings and so many large floors where there's skating so in so many places in Korea. And I had gone a couple of times, and almost every Korean person that I met could skate pretty damn well. Meanwhile, I had gone like once in high school.
Oh, so you actually kind of know the shame that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I specifically told her like, yeah, I'm gonna need a minute to catch up, and she's cool with that. She's excited, so like it'll be fine. But deep down, I'm still dreading it and not mentally prepared for the disappointment.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your disappointment updates.
Oh, you're gonna hear it next week or 2 weeks, whatever. You get the idea.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's kind of where I want to go with this episode. Like, I want to talk about those experiences where you've flexed, you've told someone about something you're good at, and then they want you to prove it. I don't care if you succeeded or failed. I just want to hear about it.
Yeah, does it have to be something that I'm good at, or just anything that I've talked about? Because I'm going to be honest, I'm not too much of a braggart, if I can brag.
It could be anything you've talked about. Like, I don't know, maybe say like, "Oh man, I've been getting into playing piano," and then someone's like, "Show me a song," and you're like, "Here's chopsticks." So like, that's acceptable.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Well, I guess one of the most obvious ones that come up when I talk about, like, oh, I lived in Korea for a bit, or when I was studying Korean or whatever, is whenever I talk to like a Korean American or someone who's just from Korea and they speak English pretty well, and they're like, "Oh, wow, you must be so good at Korean. Then no, you should show me something." And it's just like, I can say hello or I need a bag. Like, my vocabulary is okay, but my sentence structure is still like, I can say I like this, I want this, and that's about as deep as my sentences go. So whenever that happens, I just feel like a complete dipshit, because they just come in with the expectations of, like, one day I was at TJ Maxx a few months ago, and this guy was like, "Oh, you lived in Korea, oh, can you speak?" And it's like, "Oh, just the basics." They're like, "Oh," and then he starts speaking Korean, and I was just like, "Oh, 한국어 잘 못해요," which is, I don't speak Korean very well. And it's just like, when I say the basics, I mean I can say, do you have any toilet paper? I don't mean I can talk about my day, with someone.
Yeah, you also know how to say "take your pants off," don't you?
I do. That's an important thing to know.
But no, all jokes aside, I actually know that exact pain because it's the same fucking thing with Spanish, and Spanish is a lot more common here, unfortunately, so it comes up a lot. And it's just like, no, you need to understand the level we're talking about here.
Yeah, but
But
I mean, you took what? Because I know that you did it in high school, but then didn't you take like 3 semesters of like accelerated Spanish in college?
yeah, and what I'll say is about 100% of the Spanish I learned was in college. I don't retain anything from high school.
Hmm.
But nah, like I'm able to functionally do it at work most of the time, especially when my patients kinda teach me the words, which helps. But at least for me, if I can't do it, it kinda comes off like he's trying because there's so many Spanish speakers here. For you, I could imagine the internal shame where you're like, "I swear I'm not a Korea boo. I just went to Korea and lived there."
Yeah, well, that was one of the shittiest things is I didn't even get a chance to study Korean in Korea because they work you so goddamn hard that by the time that you come home, like you're just exhausted and you want to do something for yourself, and then before you know it, it's 11 p.m. and you have to wake up to deal with kindergartners in the morning.
Well, yeah, that's just, like, the unfortunate work culture there.
Yeah.
I know that your least favorite job was dishwashing, but, like,
Oof.
certainly the Korea job was draining in its own way because you didn't just stop the minute you clocked out, I'd imagine. Like, from what I recall, the dread was, like, sticking with you.
Yeah, well, plus it was full time, and on top of that, like if I hated dishwashing, I could quit dishwashing and go back home. Where if I quit this, then I got to pay $1,000 to go back to America because I can't stay in Korea without a job, especially during like the height of COVID. And I was just like, damn! Not only is this job shitty, it's my first full time job, and it's shitty, and I'm in a different country, so there's a lot more repercussions if I quit.
Yeah, there was just a lot of barriers there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, amongst all that, you're Korean. You never quite got there, but you can rectify that.
My Korean as in the language. I thought you were saying that I'm Korean all of a sudden, and I got very confused.
You got a race change.
So yeah,
They just
it happens.
injected Korean blood into your veins.
Yeah, I got what Michael Jackson had, but the more racist version.
I don't know that the body works like that.
Yep.
But not. Honestly though, yeah, that's fair. So we both have language stuff there. Like I completely get you.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, you are an embarrassment of a human being, so I'm sure you
Oh
have
yeah.
much more than me. So please, Jonathan, go ahead.
Okay, let me set the scene for you. Jonathan, 20 summer 2019, yeah. He
Okay.
just went ham at the arcade with his two close friends, a group playing DDR 8
Oh,
hours
okay,
3
yeah, yeah,
times a week, spending probably like hundreds of dollars on that damn game, right?
yeah. Hmm.
And like at the time, I got pretty good at it. Like it was just the thing we did. But then, the pandemic hit and everything, so I haven't realistically played in a few years. So, like, when people ask me, Jonathan, you used to play DDR, right? Look, there's a machine here. Let's play. Show us what you got. They need to understand. I haven't danced in like 3 years, and also there's variations between the machines and like how hard you have to press and like adjusting
Getting your
settings.
excuses ready and
Oh
everything.
no, I'm like lining them all up because I've done this every time. Because
Hmm.
I just fucking bomb, and they're like, "You used to play this?" And I'm like, "I swear I did, and I swear I was good." But it doesn't really. If people don't believe it when you like lose within the first 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But nah, like I remember though, the one time I did both disappoint and then live up to the hype was when you and your girlfriend at the time, Da Young, came to visit and saw me and the two friends and actually Allie at round one.
Hmm.
And I was playing Pump It Up, which is a different game than DDR. But point
But
being,
still DDR.
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first song, like I kind of like bombed a little bit because like I didn't want to like flex on Ali super hard. But then you like made a comment about wow, like I thought you'd be better. So the second song, I was like, all right, here we go. So like I put on a intentionally difficult second song. Ali like immediately died, but I was like holding up, getting perfect notes and everything. So she was like distracting, or you were distracting me. I think it was you who was grabbing my ass while I was playing,
No,
and
me, I would never grab your
yeah, you
ass.
would never do that. And like other things, and then she was like shoving me or whatever. And I think I still beat the song. I don't really remember to be honest, but I was like, that time, that was the only time I've ever gotten to flex when I've gotten to say I played DDR, because that was like in my height of playing DDR. Anything since then, oh man, I've just stopped mentioning it to people.
Yeah, honestly, probably a good route after the DDR that I experienced from you.
Nah, I sometimes to this day I do miss it, but then I remember what it would take to get back into it, and I'm like, the high isn't worth all the lows.
Yeah, yeah, definitely understandable. Plus, that thing's kind of like a money sink because it's like what $1 for 90 seconds.
Yeah, so it's like $1.50 for 3 songs, assuming you don't die before then. But
Hmm.
the thing is, if you wanna get better, you wanna challenge yourself with hard songs, so you might end up dying just to try to get better. It's really a vicious loop, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta shill out $5,000 for a DDR machine in your home.
Well, I mean, John literally did get himself, like, 2 pads that were not of bad quality just so he could play it at home, during the pandemic.
Yeah, but
But
it's not the same.
it's not the same, to be honest, and by that time, Ken and I had largely stopped playing it, so it was kinda disappointing. I know that John still plays it to this day, and Ken and I cheer him on, but it's like, we're kinda past that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, something that I thought of, which might not be exactly what you were going here for, but once again, I'm so infallible that I don't have too many examples,
Okay.
is I was always one of those kids who was really naturally smart, especially when it came to like math. And growing up, I never had to study for, my multiplication table, fractions, when we got to all of that stuff, measurements, area, volume, and all that. But as
Uh-huh.
you go up and you don't study whatsoever, and it gets harder than 2 times 2 equals 4, it tends to show of like this kid's not studying at all, even if he's naturally smart. So sophomore year at high school, I was in advanced pre-calculus with a lot of our friends, and that was something that I always told people like prior to, in middle school. Even I might have told you, freshman year we had math together. Of like,
Mhm.
man, I never study, I never do homework, but I still like, I get F's on that, but I get A's on tests. So I don't worry about me. I'll pass this class with a C or whatever. And I remember pre-calc was the only class that I ever failed because that did not cut it at that point. And I remember for the final test that we took at the end of the year, because the teacher didn't do it on the last day. He did it like a week before the last day. So the final week at school was just like party time or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember it's just like, nah, I got this. I just got to get like an 83 on this test to not
You
get an
know.
F in this class. Did not get an 83. But it was hilarious because it didn't work out well, but at the same time, it worked out perfectly because the teacher was one of those cool guys. And everyone gets their test back. It's like, oh, how much did you get? And, our friend Val, who was really smart, was like, oh, I got like a 95%. Oh,
Oh, no.
this. And I'm over here and it's like, well, I got a 100. And they're like, no, you did not. I'm like, ask the teacher, hey, did I get a 100? He's like, yeah, Dylan got a 100. I mean, he's not lying. And they're like, dude, how the fuck did you get a 100? And everyone's just like so impressed. And I'm like, guys, test was out of 200. I got a 50%.
I just want to say that teacher is a bro. He's like, I'm not gonna fucking end your career and throw you under the bus.
No, he did not end my career. If anything, he was my hype man, and I love him for that, even if he did fail me.
I mean, honestly, that was just such a good way of handling that, and I love the way you put it too. Just like kind of obfuscate the important details.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was perfect because I got exactly 100 points out of 200. Like, if I got, 101, I couldn't say that because there wasn't any extra credit on the test or something. So it
Yeah,
just worked out perfectly.
it really did. Honestly, you probably could have gone down a few points and would have made a difference anyways. But
That's true. If I went down a couple points, it still would have been, the same thing of like, yeah, you got a 95. But, 100 was what made it perfect because like, you think 100, you think perfect score, and
yeah,
really I got an F.
and everyone's like, "Really? You pulled it off?" Like, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is actually great though. No, I could understand like trying to like live up to academic expectations and failing
Well, considering that you didn't even graduate high school, yeah.
legally, Dylan. But nah, all jokes aside, I actually just thought of one on the spot about a funny situation where I never lived up to expectations.
Oh, hit me with it.
So, picture this scene again. Freshman year, Jonathan's trying to reinvent himself going into high school, right?
That
So,
didn't work out very well.
no, I'd say it went well. Hear me out. Hear me out.
Hmm.
He stopped being the nerd in middle school who was missing so many days due to like at that time like mental health issues. But like I wanted to drop being a nerdy band kid, right?
Hmm.
For various reasons actually. But one of them was reinventing myself. So I dropped my drumsticks. They made a clanging sound on the floor, and I decided to go into football, right?
Hmm.
And let me tell you, because for football, you had to wear the jersey every Thursday, I want to say, jersey and shorts. So, like,
You were also in ROTC, which wasn't that like every Friday you had to
yeah,
wear? So
So
you were just in uniform 3 out of 5 days or 2 out of 5 of the days of the week.
yeah, it was so great. I never got to express myself in clothing, but at least I never had to actually like pick it out because family was low income. It kind of worked out.
Okay.
But the thing was like because of how high schoolers were at the time, girls would be like, "Oh, Jonathan, you're in football and everything." I'm like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, I'm in football." And then the other guys would like hype me up. They're like, "Yeah, Jonathan's in football, and really awesome and all that, and he's good." When people would ask them, right?
Hmm.
And the thing is, I wasn't a starter, and I wasn't the backup either. There's a starters, the backups, and then like everyone else because of how fucking huge the Vista team is.
Hmm.
So like the whole entire season in practice, I had the ball thrown on me because I played defense. I played corner. I had to stop receivers from catching the ball.
Hmm.
I had the ball thrown in my direction a whole 2 times over the entire 4 month season. And if you count like training camp, it's 5 months, right?
Hmm.
And I did not have a single pass thrown on me in any of the games. So in 5 months, I had the chance to defend 2 passes. So I never actually knew, am I good? Am I bad? Who knows? They never throw it my way.
Yeah.
So like people would be like, "Oh, Jonathan, you're a starter or you're a football player," and they would like ask me about it. I'm like, I don't fucking know if I'm good. I don't play. I'm not a starter. But it was just funny because people had these expectations about, oh man, the guy with the glasses, like he's athletic, he's playing on the team and everything. This is cool. So girls did honestly give me more attention my freshman year than they did the other years in
I don't
general.
remember that, but okay.
Well, you weren't in all my classes.
I might as well have been.
But no, it was just pretty great though. I'm gonna give an example. I'm not gonna mention her name, but it was kind of funny because there was this one girl who was like really attractive in my science class freshman year, and
Hmm.
like a few of the football guys were like hitting on her, but I happened to be the one lucky enough to sit next to her.
Hmm.
So I got her number, right? Or rather, I tried to give her no, yeah, she gave me her number, and she wanted to like go to the football game with me, the varsity game though. So like I actually would have been able to go.
Okay.
The thing is, I was a dumbass and I put the digits in the wrong order. Like it was a transpositional error. I like mixed up 2 numbers. So like I tried texting her being like, "Hey, I'm at the game. Where are you at?" And like she never responded obviously because I got the wrong number. So she ended up going out with someone else and they ended up actually dating. So I guess really like it was the right thing for the universe. But it was just kind of funny because I was like, man, I was like a little freshman high school Jonathan, got my first like date in order, and then it just fucking fell apart because of my dumbass self.
Well, I'm just as amazed as well from the standpoint of normally when I give someone my number, they give me their number. The person who gets the number sends them a text right away in front of them. That way they say, "Okay, now you have my number." But you just got her number and was like, "I'll text you at some point."
Okay, not, not trying to like downplay myself here, but that was the first girl's number I think I ever got,
It's
and it
not
was like,
about being a girl or not. It's just about getting someone's number. If I got your number right now, I would send you a text and be like, "Cool, did you get it? Now you have mine."
okay, okay. Let me try to explain this further. That was freshman year, so I didn't even have a smartphone at that point. I had a prepaid track phone that had like the number digits you would have to press multiple times to like get the right letter. I did
Hmm.
not have many numbers at all. It was literally just my family contacts. I think she was literally the first phone number from a friend I tried to, or in that case, romantic interest that I tried to get. So it just genuinely did not occur to me that was common practice.
All right, all right. I'll give you the pass for now, but I'll do some digging with our friends and see how much of this is true.
I genuinely think she was the first, as far as I remember.
All right.
And, well, technically, she wasn't the first because I didn't even get the right number.
Yeah, I guess that's also true.
But yeah, that I guess this is also a story of my first underwhelming date that fucking didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty much just as good as all of the dates that you've had up to this point.
Yeah, but that's a story for another podcast episode.
Yeah. All right. I thought of another one in the time, which is I normally didn't talk myself up too much in like high school and on, and that's because I was scarred with so many things when I was younger.
Oh
And
no.
one of those that I remember, like core memory coming in here is, when you're young, like kids like to dance, they like to sing, and of course, parents being the supportive people that they are, they're not like, oh no, your legs are doing this, and oh no, your pitch is way off. They're just like,
Yeah, they're like,
oh,
"You're
it's so great.
good."
Yeah, exactly. Drawing, any kind of art thing, parents are like completely supportive. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
cutting out
yeah.
that of the podcast.
No, no, you're good. Keep it.
But yeah, so my mom was completely supportive of me with that stuff, and my dad, from what I remember when he was around at the time, he was as well. So in my head, it's just like, oh yeah, I can sing, I can dance, I can do all of this stuff, not realizing that, oh shit, I don't know how to do anything. And I remember that at our elementary school there was like a dance competition that was coming on, and one of the people that I was like kind of friends with at the time was like, oh yeah, you should join our dance group, blah blah blah. Just like you, it was a girl that I had a crush on at the time.
Uh-huh.
So, elementary school, first love right there. And she's like, oh, you should join our dance group or whatever for the competition. Can you show us what you
Oh
got? And me
no.
being an elementary school student who had never taken any dance stuff, didn't know how to dance, never had
Were
practiced
you just
before.
flailing your limbs?
Exactly, because I thought like the b-boy hip hop kind of dances were the coolest. So I literally went
Oh.
on the field, like the dirt and the grass, and I just had my back on the ground. And you know how they can kind of like do the worm on their back, where they're
Yeah.
just like, I
Yeah.
tried to do that, but I was basically just like flailing on the ground, hitting my head on the dirt, and they just looked at me and they said, never do that again. And as an elementary school student, especially hearing that from elementary school students, it's like, oh my god, I
Okay.
can't sing, I can't dance, oh my god, I'm never gonna do this again.
That's actually fucking vicious. What the heck? They didn't even like downplay, like, oh, nice, but we think we're gonna go in a different direction. They just said never do that again.
Yeah, well, I mean, in elementary school, the idea of subtlety isn't super strong, but it also sucked because they were the ones who were like, "Oh yeah, do you want to join?" And it was the girl that I had the crush on and all that stuff. And I mean, we were still friends after the fact, but I go in there, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm super into this," and I didn't realize that some kids actually do start practicing dance instruments and so on from a young age. Granted, a lot of time because their parents put them into it, but me going in there and just flailing on the ground like an idiot, and then hearing "never do that again" from people who I was pretty decent friends with was like, oh my god, I should kill myself.
Dude, not even joking. Like that would scar me too. Like I don't know that I would get over that.
Yeah, well, like I said, core memory coming in because I never forgot that moment.
Is that something that's on the back of your mind? Like sometimes when you're like introducing people to like talents you have, or like just they want to see you do something, or is this something that like just resurface and you're like, oh my goodness, my brain has opened tenfold and I wish it didn't.
This is one of those stereotypical things when you're laying at bed at midnight and you can't fall asleep and your brain's like, hey, remember all of this stuff? That's one of those common memories that do come up.
I feel so bad for you because that was so unnecessary. I'm not gonna lie.
But I mean, it's not like they were wrong, but yeah, ooh, did that cut deep for 10-year-old, 9-year-old me, whatever.
I would never try anything again.
And I didn't.
Oh man. Well, I don't know that anything I could say is gonna live up to that one, but I'll give one that's kind of disappointing because this person had seen me at my height and then they saw me at my lows.
Oh, okay, hit me with it.
So I talked about how I tried to leave my former life behind, my middle school life to be clear.
Yeah, I was really confused. Yeah, your middle school life where I bit you on the shoulder in gym class.
Yeah, my previous identity. I wanted none of that. But part of what that was, I mentioned I was in band in middle school,
Mhm.
and I was a little drummer boy, a little percussionist,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of highs, and oh my god, did I experience the lows in that. And because of that, I left, but at the time I was a pretty good drummer. Like I was the lead of the bass drums for marching band and for drumline. And honestly, I was good enough to be snare. There was just a lot of internal politics. And to be clear, snare is like the height of it, right?
Hmm.
But like I was still respected. If I had like input to give, I would give it and people would listen and that kind of thing. Like I was without a doubt a bona fide leader there. But, when I left, I kind of just never like drummed again and whatnot. Well, one of our friends was very musically inclined, you might recall, Zach, right?
Hmm.
Um, and not the Zach from last episode. Point being, he would go to Guitar Center and like play guitars and play drums and everything. And one day I
Yeah,
went
I
with
remember
him.
that.
Yeah, I went with him one day and he was like, "Oh, hey, Jonathan, let's play the drums together, right?" The only issue is it's very different playing a drum set where you gotta like use your feet and like all these different drums, keep into account like cymbals and whatnot, versus marching band where you're just playing one drum, you're just playing the bass drum, you're just playing the snare, just the cymbals, right?
Yeah, I remember that was something that I was always confused about because I remember I wasn't in band, but I had friends, obviously, who were in band. And I remember that the drum line was like the quote unquote cool people of the band. And I was like, oh, cool. So they're like on the drum and they can do all of this stuff. It's like, no, they just have the one drum, or, if they're lucky, three
Yep.
drums. And I'm just like, wait, these are the cool guys? Like, this seems so stupid and boring.
It really was, I'm not gonna lie. But, like, I picked up those drumsticks and I tried to, like, drum roll across the different drums with a few, like, cymbal hits and bass kicks, and oh my god, it looked like I was having an epileptic seizure. Like, nothing was coming out right, and then, like, I knew it sounded bad, and I was like, "Yeah, I haven't played since middle school, man." He's like, "It's okay." I'm like, I used to be good. You see where I'm at. This is fucking painful."
Oh my god, yeah, that really is the musical version or the drum version of me flailing on the floor.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I still think there's value in, like, playing a drum set, like, that would be cool to this day, but just I never fucking learned.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's just not happening. That was embarrassing. It's like, I did this shit for years, and I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, well, I just thought of another one with that, which really ties together around the same time as the first me flailing on the floor
So
thing
you got
goes.
traumatized back to back?
Yeah, I did, and honestly, this is probably one of the things that, like, now looking back at all of these core memories of like why my confidence as an elementary schooler was so high, and then as like late elementary school all the way up to now it's been like pretty dog shit.
Yeah.
Is I remember there's a big age gap between me and my siblings. Like, I was born in 1998 and the next uh, youngest was born in 1982, I think, at least at the time. I had a step brother born, or a half brother born after that. But I when you're a kid, you like to do lots of artistic things. At least a lot of the kids that I know did, and I would watch different like musicals on Disney Channel. High School Musical, just different movies that came
Oh,
up with
yeah.
that stuff. And I remember that I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to be a songwriter then. Oh yeah, I can do this and I can sing and all that stuff. And I remember that I like went to my backyard like a edgy 9-year old that I was, and I sat on top of the shed that was in my backyard that could look over
Oh,
the fence, and I was looking at the cars passing by, and I like had my piece of paper and my number two pencil, and I was writing down like, okay, here are the lyrics, and oh yeah, this is going to be like a love song that they can do, and blah blah blah. And I remember that I was like, oh, I don't want to put this inside, so let me leave it here. I put it under the shed, but because of the wind or whatever, it had blown away and it had blown into like the pool. And my brother, who was like 16 years older than me and just had his stoner friends in the backyard, were like, oh yeah, we found a piece of paper in the pool, what's this? And they looked at it, and it was cringy 9-year-old love song kind of thing. And they
oh,
basically like went up to the glass door, opened it up, and it was like, oh, did you write this? Oh, it's all right, just tell us it was a prank, right? You didn't actually try to do this. And like that hurt even more, just like, it's
they
so
didn't even
bad
take
that it
it
has to be a
seriously.
prank.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were just like laughing at me the entire time. And I remember that like they tried to keep on opening the glass door, I should keep on closing it, and eventually like the door handle broke because I just didn't want to deal with their shit, and I tried to close it as hard as I could.
Yeah.
But yeah, between the dancing thing and then that was more songwriting, less so than singing because I didn't actually do anything. But between all of that stuff, like any confidence for anything creative that I had, especially went straight into the shitter. And I feel like this episode is becoming less comedy and more of just like, damn, Dylan has some emotional abuse issues in his back.
Reliving Dylan's trauma. My bad.
Yeah.
But no, that is actually kind of mean though. That is like bullying.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when you're a kid, especially, those things can become like core memories for you. Where for other people, they think it's fine. Where I remember, if I had a crush on someone and I was like, oh, oh, what do you think about her? Could I marry her? And my mom and brother and people would be like, oh, laughing and this stuff, and they're laughing because they think it's cute. But as a 9-year old, you're like, I'm being laughed at for saying things like this. So you don't internalize it as like, oh, I'm a cute child. You internalize it as, oh, I shouldn't talk about my feelings or any of this stuff because I'll just get made fun of for it.
No, I get what you mean though. Like my family, whenever I had like childhood crushes, and I stopped letting them know, like after the first time.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, like I would let her know, like, oh, that girl's like cute. I want to like date her or whatever. Like I thought at the time, I probably said marry, knowing me at the time.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, does someone have a crush and everything?" And they bring it up every single day, like, "How is it with this girl?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I learned about coloring today," and like, and all that. But then like they would like bring it up to the girl's mom, and then the girl would know about it. And I was like, "Oh my god, you guys are actually the worst. I am literally a kindergartner." Like
Yeah,
I,
well, I actually have a question now because when I've called my sister, who my sister also has a big age gap between us, she's 20 years older than me, but she
yeah.
and I get along really well and all that. But I I remember that like when I was dating my ex and everything, every time I called my sister and talked to her, she'd be like, "Oh." Like the first thing is like, oh, are you still dating this person? Like, is that a normal question to ask? Like, honestly, in your opinion, is that a normal question to ask? Because I always felt like super awkward of just like, if you call your mom every day, you're like, oh, you and dad still together? It's just like, why do you feel that it's necessary? Did it seem like we're getting a divorce? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I don't like the question, "Are you and so still together?" Because that implies a negative. I'd
Yeah.
rather someone just ask like, how's this person been? And then like if they're still in your life, you'll answer, and if they're not, you'll answer that way.
Yeah,
But
exactly. It's too much of a leading question with the direction of like positive or negative. Just leave it completely open ended where you can find out whatever you want.
yeah, so I think like wording there is important. But even like disregarding that, I feel like that's the kind of question you ask when you don't know what else to ask.
Yeah.
Like, like, oh shoot, I don't really know. I kind of asked Dylan about his work, about school. How's his girlfriend? Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Yeah, like that would bother me a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, that stuff aside, I'm sure you got more stuff to be embarrassed about.
Yeah. Well, actually, kind of since you went into details about like songwriting and everything, I'll kind of like match you one for one a little bit.
Oh yeah, because you did have like a screamo band at one point, right?
Yeah, and it was realistically largely cover bands. We only wrote a few songs, like probably not even enough to fill out an EP,
Hmm.
Mhm.
even though I wrote my own since independently. The point being, like, people are like, whoa, Jonathan, you used to be like screaming like metal vocals or you used to like sing metal songs. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, sing for us. And I'm like, it's not that simple. Like, for starters, one, that's just kind of awkward. Like, I'm sure every singer gets that, but it's like, what do you want me to do? Put on a talent show for you? But then, like, even beyond that, like, I feel like there's a few things that are reasonable here. One, singers warm up before they sing, and it's not meant to
No, no.
sound like Ariana Grande certainly doesn't just walk up on. Well, I mean, maybe she can because she's that talented, but in general, like most people don't just walk up on stage. They need like a sound check for like 20 minutes, going me, whatever. So like, just not getting that because that'd be fucking awkward to do in front of you. Like that felt awkward doing it there.
I mean, I love it. I'll highlight that in the podcast.
Yeah, please do. Like, let that be the intro. Like, just loop it 3 times instead of our intro song.
Yeah, great.
But nah, it's just like that happens, and then like something people need to understand is like metal vocals. Like, I largely do like borderline punk singing more than metal singing. So like that's just a different style than pop singing in general. So like I can't just sing Bruno Mars because my voice isn't trained for that. It's trained for like I don't know, kind of harsh, brutal vocals. So it's just not going to sound the same, and you probably won't appreciate it the same way.
Hmm.
And I,
Hmm. So it's not your fault that you're bad. It's our fault for not appreciating it.
it's your fault for not having good music taste.
Okay.
But then also, I'm not just going to fucking scream in front of you. That's awkward. That's even more awkward than singing in front of you. It's like I've just sung in front of very few people. You are one of the very few. And under circumstances, I still didn't warm up. I was shivering because it was cold outside. But I was also in a jacuzzi with jets hitting my back. It
Yeah, I
came out.
remember.
It came out okay, all things considered. But also just like this is awkward. I don't want to do this again.
Fair enough.
So like it's just whenever people ask me to sing or scream in front of them, I'm like, no. So like they're kind of like, did you ever do it? I'm like, yes, I did it. No, I'm not gonna do it in front of you. And no, I'm not gonna send you any recordings either.
So, are you going to do it for the podcast, Jonathan?
No, I'm never going to. You guys will just have to live doubting my ability to sing and scream.
All right, too bad.
But yeah, so that's honestly borderline a pet peeve as much as it is just me letting down people's expectations.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, you don't even let them down from like being bad though. You just let them down from not doing it. Like that's just saying, yeah, I have a 12-inch penis. No, you can't see.
Yeah, you're never gonna get to see my 20-foot long penis, Dylan.
Oh God.
It's like the size of a modest backyard.
Oh God. Man, I am amazed I never saw that thing in the jacuzzi.
He didn't get me riled up enough.
God. All
Moving
right.
on. Hopefully
Yeah,
you have
moving on.
something
I
else.
do, thank God. So this is one that you actually experienced firsthand, which wasn't super embarrassing, but it was to an extent.
Oh no,
Uh,
hopefully I didn't cause it.
I mean, you invited me, which is
Uh,
causing it to an extent.
oh,
Which
okay, that's
is,
better. That's better.
I've always been naturally pretty strong. Like I remember, I would arm wrestle the football players, and I would beat them despite me not lifting weights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that in sports, it's not like strength is a one-to-one comparison to like being good.
Oh
Where
no, I think I know what this is. Go
yeah,
ahead though.
which not to say that I was terrible, but here's the thing: is that for certain sports, combat sports, for example, like
Oh
boxing, um,
no.
you need a lot of training of like, okay, great, you're naturally strong, but one, the guy I was boxing, your cousin, was like 15 pounds heavier than me at the time, which there are weight classes
Yeah.
for a reason, which that's like 2 weight classes above me. Not terrible, but still not great. On top of that, we weren't wearing headgear. And realistically, even amateurs who go to like national tournaments still wear headgear. Only like complete pros do boxing without headgear. And even
Yeah.
then, brain damage is a horribly common thing throughout that, where I think the average professional boxer's lifespan is like 5 years shorter than average. Um, so all of that stuff. So you invited me, since we always did like strength competitions, to your cousin's backyard where we were doing some real hillbilly boxing back there.
It really
And
was like if you told me that we were shirtless drinking Corona, I would absolutely believe it.
yeah, so we decided to do that. This was like first year of college, and I had never done any boxing before, but I was like, yeah, I'm naturally strong, so I should be able to punch and all that stuff. And not to say that I was terrible, but one, going in with no headgear. Two, your cousin had been doing this a lot more, so he had more experience. Three, the
Yeah.
weight difference, just everything combined. So we go in, and I get some punches and everything, and I don't have my guard up because I've never practiced boxing before, and I just get hit straight in the head. And then he like barrages my head, which is not a good place to get hit in boxing. And I remember I was like, wow, I feel like I weigh 5 pounds now. I'm so light. Ooh,
Yeah,
the
I
world is spinning. So after that, we stopped, and I had work later that day at Little Caesars. And I remember during my drive back, I was like, where am I going? Oh yeah, I'm going home to change clothes. And I definitely had some kind of like small mild concussion where my memory could not stick or anything. I
can
decided to
you
go to
actually see
work.
a doctor?
Yeah, because I ended up leaving Little Caesars early because I had my crackhead, like actual crackhead assistant
Yeah.
manager who was always fine with anything. So he was just like, "Yeah, you feeling bad? You can go home." Because I threw up a little bit in the bathroom, and
Jesus.
yeah, when I was home, I was telling my dad of just like, "Oh yeah, I did some backyard boxing with my friend's cousin who's 15 pounds heavier than me, didn't have any boxing headgear." He's just like, "You're a fucking idiot. Can you drive to an hour to my place and I'll take you to the hospital? Like you need to go to the hospital right now." And I don't think he even told me to drive. I think he drove down to come get me and then drove back another hour to the
Yeah.
hospital. And like basically, I just sat down in a bed and they're like, "Yeah, mild concussion, everything's fine,"
You're like
and blah blah blah.
mild.
Yeah, exactly. Which I didn't have an issue with, and my dad paid for it, so there was no issues. But like, dude, to get a fucking CT scan is like $2,000 right there just for getting punched in the head a couple of times from our hillbilly boxing, and that was embarrassing to my dad because I seemed like a dumbass, and that was embarrassing, like facing your cousin of like I go in there like, oh, okay, I'm strong guy, and even if he thought like, oh, this guy's pretty strong, my skills did not match with my strength, so.
Wait, did your dad actually pay 2,000 though?
I'm not sure. I think he did. I think he put it on his credit card and like paid it off
Damn.
over like 6 months or something. But it was just like, damn, I just feel like such a dumbass.
Well, now I feel really bad. I mean, I know he makes like good money, but like, damn.
Now, all good. My dad's life is meant to be shit.
Apparently, partly because of me, but nah. Like when I saw the first hit, like, oh damn, he got hit pretty hard. When I saw the subsequent hits, I was like, all right, James, you can stop. Like that was the thing. Like, admittedly, in retrospect, maybe it would have been better for you to go against someone else because he was the closest to your weight out of everyone there. But I
Mm-hmm.
had told James multiple times, you kind of suck at pulling your punches.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am very good at hitting like extremely fast and extremely soft because I can hurt you if I want. Like I think at one time you had me punch you as hard as I could, and you're like, "Yeah, that hurt." But
Hmm.
like whenever you and I box, like I think briefly we did it once in your garage. Like I was absolutely not punching like that because I do not want to hurt you. I want to tap you, and that's about the extent of it. Like
Well,
I
also,
hit.
I only used my right hand, because I'm
Yeah.
left-handed. So we put in restraints for that stuff. Where yeah, your brother was basically okay. Welcome to the boxing gym. Before you learn the basics, let me beat the shit out of you. So it was like, this isn't a great way to learn boxing.
Yeah, I got pretty upset with him over that, to be honest. I was like, "Bro, what are you doing?" Like, you don't have to punch that hard. Like, it's not impressing anybody. Just get the hit in and stop.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's part of the embarrassment is because I'm Mr. Strong Guy, and it's like, oh well, it's not that he's that much stronger than me. It's because he actually knows how to aim for the fucking head and block his head.
Yeah, in general, like, I just always kept my hands up, but that's the kind of thing, like, if you're not watching combat sports or, like, anything, you're just not gonna know going in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I definitely feel bad about that one, and
No,
that
it's all good. It's all good.
when you texted me saying you got a mild concussion, I was like, 1, thank God that was only mild because I had my doubts. But 2, I was like, yeah, that I'm gonna lose sleep over this for a couple nights. So is Dylan probably. So yeah, that felt bad.
Yeah.
Hopefully that ends up being the only concussion you get in your life.
Hopefully.
But man, let me think. Let me think.
I
I
got
mean,
one for you that I'm sure you can talk about, which is, a certain event that happened in middle school about a certain movie. You know what I'm talking about?
is it something very usual?
Actually, it's quite unusual, if I do say so.
Yeah, so okay, I'm going to give context. I am going to give context.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
delete the context in post.
No, 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 no. We're going to get this done in pre. I'm just going to stop right now. Just kidding.
Oh damn.
So and the way I like to converse with people is I like to let them talk about stuff they talk about even if I'm not interested in the slightest, because that makes people like, you get to learn about them. Generally, they like you more and like blah, blah, just good social habits, right?
Mhm.
You just flushed that down the toilet, my man. So the story, oh my god, I think you were just talking about movies and movies you liked. Maybe I was asking for recommendations or something. And you
Mhm.
brought up The Usual Suspects, and I was just nodding along, being like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's cool," and everything, like going along with it. And you just fucking decided, let's just end Jonathan's career right now. And you're like, "Have you seen The Usual Suspects?" And just put me on blast, and I had to be like, "No, I'm just nodding along and letting you talk."
No, you didn't say that though. You're like,
Did I not?
yeah. No, you were like, yeah, yeah, of course,
Oh,
yeah. And it's
did
like,
I?
yeah. And then I said, oh, okay, then what's it about? And that's when you got boomed because you're like, okay, I
Oh,
haven't seen it. I was just, but I'm like, no, 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 no. You said you saw it.
okay. So I think maybe why I thought it went the way it was because you had such a profound impact on the way I would talk to people that never again did I fake it. I would just openly oblige. I don't know this, but go and keep talking directly because of you, which might be a good thing to be honest. You taught me that
You're
lesson at a
welcome.
very good age. Because if that kept going on to this day, oh my god, it would have just happened with someone else who's less understanding.
Yeah.
Man, I love that I fucking lied about that though. That is so on brand for middle school Jonathan.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh man. Let me think. Let me think.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't have anything, we're 43 minutes in. So, I mean, you can think of the last couple, or I was thinking if you want to finish off with some like reverse stuff of some times that people had low expectations and you wowed them.
Um, yeah, I'll go with that because I think I can go for one more, but it's not actually too dissimilar from the drum one. So
Okay.
I might go for one where I wowed people.
All right. Ended on a high note.
All right, I think I have two, and that's about it in comparison to like the six negatives I came
Yeah,
up with.
exactly.
Um, one I think I've mentioned this one before, but my cousin was very big into airsoft. Back in like
This the cousin that punched me in the head.
yeah, it's actually that exact same cousin. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
really into violent things. I don't know what was up with him. He had some repressed anger issues, I'm sure.
I hope he and his wife are okay.
Yeah. Blink twice if you're not okay. But no, what ended up happening was he was big into airsoft and he lived in private property, so he had like borderline a jungle in his backyard. And what ended up happening was we had I'm not sure what the relationship was. I think like distant cousin, but he was in the Marines, right?
Hmm.
and he was on leave for some kind of reason, and he decided he was going to airsoft with us, and he was so confident he didn't even wear like face gear. He just was so confident he was going to destroy every single one of us, right?
Hmm.
So my cousin, and his friends, because it was like I want to say like 8 of us total. It was us 8 against the one Marine, right?
Hmm.
And my cousin and his friends came up with the idea, if we all group together, he cannot realistically shoot all 8 of us before we shoot him. So we're going to win just by sheer force of numbers, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, sounds like a reasonable enough approach if you're okay just getting shot. But I was like, honestly, this is kind of fucking stupid. Like, they were literally standing in a line because the thought process is if they're in a line, only one of them can get shot at a time, right? The person in front, which they're not wrong, but that sucks for the person in front.
But
So
he had armor piercing rounds. That's where you
he
miscalculated.
had actual bullets to be clear. No, just kidding. So I just decided I'm gonna like call an executive decision. I just wandered off on my own without telling any of them, and they didn't even notice either, which kind of feels bad. But anyways, I was wandering around to the right by like many many feet. Like they were hard to like kind of hard to see. Like I could like see them, but like wasn't able to like hear them at that point, even though they were talking pretty loud.
Hmm.
And I was going through the trees, and like I said, it's like borderline forest, not exaggerating. At one point, I see someone in front of me, and he's looking at the guys to the side. So I just pull up my gun and I shoot him like 3 times in the chest. And he's like, he congratulates me, and he's like, "Dang, that was really good, Jonathan. You weren't like the others. The others, I was just going to come from the side and shoot all of them, and like it would have been extremely easy." I'm like, yeah, I kind of thought the same. So we come walking back. We're like, hey, I got him. And they're like, what the heck? You got him? I'm like, yeah, because I decided walking in a straight line towards a Marine wasn't a good idea. And they're like, whoa, that was really good, Jonathan. That was like really strategic. And I'm like, was it?
I guess
Like,
that's the downside to like these moments where I guess we're technically ending on a high note, but it's only a high note because people had such low value in you. But it's
yeah.
just like, oh wow, you did it. Oh wow, I didn't even realize you left.
Yeah, that was the thing. They were like, yeah, we didn't even realize that. They're like, that happened so quickly. And I'm like, I was gone for like several minutes, guys. Like, did you just not realize? Damn, that's a feels bad. But yeah, no, in ordinary like circumstances, I'm pretty bad at airsoft because I can't wear my glasses under the mask.
Oh
So like
yeah.
even under that circumstance, like it was pretty hard just shooting him, but I did it and I was pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
Do you have a situation where you like lived up or even exceeded
I
expectations?
do. This one you might remember from high school because this I was super proud of at the time. Is sophomore year, as we talked about last episode, you got to choose what PE you were in. So I
Mm-hmm.
chose rec life. So we got to do lots of different, bowling, archery, and one of the things that came up was badminton. And during badminton, we only played doubles because of how many courts were available. It would have been uh, too long of just switching, waiting for turns to switch if we only did one on one. So we did only doubles, and me and our friend Luke were in the class together. So he and I were the doubles partners, and he and I were really good. We were the best in that period, and we ended up having a tournament at the end of the badminton unit, and we won the entire period tournament. So we were the champions. Well, apparently the other two rec life periods also had a tournament, and they had their doubles champions of their thing. And we didn't have like a tournament for who's the best of the periods. What we did was that there was like a Olympic badminton team in training. Like they weren't clearly Olympic level yet, but they were like high schoolers who were training to be on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
And they weren't part of our school. There was some, touring people because our school got so much fucking budget for just random shit. So we got them to come by and they got to do a demonstration of like, oh, look at these goose feather birdies that we have and the goose feather
So they're
rackets that
just
we
being
have.
snobs.
Yeah, like they were having all of that stuff and they were like, okay, so we're going to give an opportunity to the champions of each period to play a doubles match against our people. And I remember I remember that the first two period champions went, so 4 people total. First one happens, and they go back and forth, and I remember that the Olympic team clearly gave both period champions like a freebie point of like, oh no, we can't reach it, even though they reached some much harder ones earlier, just to be like, okay, we don't want to shit on you guys too hard. So we went into it being like, okay, our goal isn't 1 point, our goal is 2 points. And I
Mhm.
remember they handed us the goose feather rackets and they were like, do not break this fucking thing. It's worth $500. And I was like, oh my God, okay, then don't hand me these. I'm fine with
Yeah,
a normal
honestly.
racket. Yeah, but they handed us that. And then me and Luke went in position. And the thing is that the Olympic challenging people, whatever, they were really good at spiking it hard. Like, I didn't realize a birdie can be hit at like 100 miles an hour. I'm not sure if they were going that fast, but they were going at least like 60 miles an
Wait,
hour
that
for a
would
spike.
hurt to get hit by.
Well, it's super light, so even if it would hurt, the bigger issue is it's fucking hard to respond to compared to like a normal poof, and then lightly goes over the net. So with that
Yeah.
in mind, we were just like, okay, we cannot beat that. So our goal to win is just to keep on returning it as much as possible. They're bound to get tired. They're bound to fuck up. Like we're the underdogs in the anime arc right
Yeah.
now, and we would go back and forth, back and forth. I remember I even had some diving shots where like I barely got it. He had to turn around and like duck down to get it from behind and get it over the net. And both he and I were just doing absolutely amazing, considering that we
The
had played in high
circumstances.
school for 2 weeks versus an Olympic team. And you could tell that like our skill was much higher than the other period champions. So the Olympic team starts spiking it, and we're just like, okay, look at where the racket is coming from. Okay, it's probably going to land here and barely get it. And we would still miss a lot of those, but we would return a decent amount compared to the other classes. And
Yeah.
we get our freebie point, and it's like, okay, that point, that was obvious that they just gave it to us. They missed it. It wasn't like anything amazing. Who gives a shit about that point? This is where it really starts, and that's when we go ham, diving for every shot, doing this, returning all of these like 60-mile-an-hour shots with our little barely over the net shots and all of this shit, and it's just back and forth, back and forth. And I remember for like the second to last point, I go diving for this one that's on the very edge, and I miss it. But the thing
Ah.
is if it lands outside the lines of the court, then you get a point for them not hitting it within the.
Wait. So
So I dove for it. I missed it because it wasn't inside the court. I was like right up to the line, and then one of the kids, because the entire PE periods. Each PE period was on the bench just watching us go back and forth. And the kid in front of it stands up and was like, it landed out. It landed out. And everyone's like, oh, holy shit, they got a real point off of these guys. Where it's not because we served it so hard at them. It's because they had to, like, how the fuck do we get these guys to go down? They keep on returning our hard shots, but then we can return their easy ass shots. So they tried to give us, like, a very boundary shot that just missed. So I was able to not return it, but get a point. And we got one actual point against the Olympic training team. And that was, like, one of my highlight moments in high school.
dude, this is literally something straight out of an anime. What is this?
Yeah, I mean, we still lost super hard because you need like 21 points to win or whatever. So it's 2-21.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that, like, damn, those guys are going home. And I wonder with how much their asshole coach was like, don't break these fucking rackets when he gave it to us. If he's just like, you guys lost an actual fucking point against these high schoolers that have been playing for 2 weeks. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Well, honestly, well, for one, this is a proud moment for you, and then for them, this is the first part of the episode talking about low lights and disappointment.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
man, that is so upsetting. How much natural talent you have, man. You could have been Olympic level. What is going on here?
I'm not sure if I could have been Olympic level, but yeah, at the very least, it was a good time in high school. But hey, it wasn't just me. Luke was also out there carrying just as much weight.
You guys could have been like the next Serena and Venus Williams.
Aren't they tennis players though?
Well, is there really a big difference between tennis and badminton?
Oh no! Now we're getting all our tennis and badminton fans in the chats.
We're gonna get flamed. 1,000 views, and 999 of them are gonna be people hating on us and disliking.
It's okay. Dislikes don't show up on YouTube anymore.
Oh, that's true. That's true. No one will know.
Yeah, only me as I cry, as I flail with my hip hop moves on the grass.
Oh no. Oh man, God, I had a good example of a time I lived up to expectations, but I kind of forgot it. So this is kind of me dropping expectations again. Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, well, you can take your time. I can cut this out like my long pause earlier.
Yeah, please do, because let me think. I had one. No, yeah, it's not coming to me.
All right, then I'll put in SpongeBob 20 minutes later, and then
I don't think we can do that legally speaking.
no, SpongeBob's public property now.
You're public property.
All right, so say something that gets us back to the normal podcast because the fourth wall is breaking, and I'm confused what I cut out and what I don't.
Okay, let me think. Okay, the last thing I talked about was natural talent. You had disappointing.
Just say, oh yeah, I don't think I can think of anything, and then
Okay. All right, but nah. Beyond that, I don't think I can really come up with any other things off the top of my head. My life is full of disappointments and none really successes. So
I mean, that's why we're such a good match, such good friends, because both of us are just failures.
yeah, well, this podcast is gonna be the thing that takes us up.
Oh yeah, this is the thing that had zero expectations, and 14 episodes in, we're getting 13 views an episode. Woohoo.
Oh, I actually do have one more thing though, off the top of my
Okay.
head.
Hit me with it.
Aside from like things that actually were successes or were failures, like I think the disproportionate amount of failures I have to successes in this regard, like have shaped me in such a way, like I am genuinely kind of afraid to like show people things. Like for an example, a game we both played growing up was Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
I do remember.
And I play that game a lot, and you play that game a lot. And that's
Mhm.
why I will never play you at it. Because, like, if I just suck at the game and you dominate me, it'd be like, man, what were all those hours for? And you're going to be like, really, Jonathan? You played this game for hours and give me something to keep me up at night. So, like, I just, it's kind of interesting because I think it has genuinely pushed me away from wanting to show people, like, things I have done.
Well, I have two things to say to that. One is
Yeah.
you played on PlayStation, I played on Wii, so we just couldn't play each other anyway because you're doing like quarter circle X and I'm doing like ka me with my hands on the Wii remote. So
That
that
sounds
would
so much more fun, though.
It was. Let's be real. But number two is I think you're just scared because of how much I whooped your ass in Naruto.
Okay, yeah, to be fair, that's a game I never played, so like at least I didn't have expectations going in. But yeah, I just assume you're gonna be so good at every game like you are Naruto, closing your eyes, playing with one hand, and still beating me by mashing one button. Like, that's upsetting.
Who does that say more about? You, me, or the character?
I think the game, it's clearly broken, to be honest.
Yeah.
But nah, I don't know. Like, I think it has genuinely shaped me a little bit. You mentioned that your things like definitely affected your confidence.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I can contribute to your low self-esteem.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know. I think clearly we both need therapy after this.
Well, you're in therapy, so give me
Yeah.
a good recommendation.
I'm gonna bring this up. I'm like, man, one time I sucked at showing people Dance Dance Revolution, and the therapist will be like, "This is what you're paying me for,"
It's like, really? 1v1 me, man.
and then he'll destroy me, and then the trauma's gonna come back.
Yeah, all right. Well, you can
But-
practice, but I think good stopping point, and with your
Yeah.
failure.
Yeah, so next week I'll update you about how I desperately and miserably fail at skateboarding with my friend later on today.
Didn't you just fail at talking? What was it, skateboarding or skating?
Oh, no, like skating as in skateboarding.
Oh, dude, this whole time I was thinking of you going to the roller rink.
Oh, no. Like, I do not know how to skate. I know how to skateboard skate.
Oh my god, this is why I was comparing it in Korea to the skating rinks.
Oh, I
Oh my
thought you were saying skateboarding was huge in Korea.
No, skating like roller skates. Oh my god, we're both idiots. That's the true way to end this podcast.
This clears up so much. That's why I was saying, like, they know how to do tricks, like, like popping the skateboard. And,
I
like,
was
doing
confused what you
kickflips.
meant by roller skating tricks. I was like, that sounds dangerous. Are they doing 360 twirls? Okay.
They're just doing like cartwheels with skates on. I don't fucking know.
Okay.
Dang, my eyes have been opened to the third dimension. My third eye just opened. I'm
Alright.
like Tien.
Oh my god. All right. Well, you have fun with skateboarding then. Ta
Yeah.
for now.
Toot toot for Newt.